Hello community, welcome to a new video of Tainment Academy. In today's video, we're gonna tackle one of the things that I almost always encounter in every agency and also with my students, and is the difference between a graphic designer and an art director. In most cases, I must say, probably in all of them, but let's say in most cases, let's be politically correct, let's say. In most cases, there's not a big difference between graphic design and art direction, and in my process, I like to emphasize on that differentiation. Now, that doesn't mean that art directors cannot do the graphic design work or vice versa. This is more about knowing the rules before you break them, knowing what are the key roles and responsibilities of each position in order to kind of then mold the process to whatever fits best in your agency. And also, if you're a graphic designer or an art director, knowing what the difference is will only what the differences are will only make you a better creative, in my opinion. So let's dive in. I don't want to make this video too long. So let's dive in. So graphic designer versus art director. Let's see what the key roles and responsibilities for each are, right? And in this case, let's start with graphic design. So a graphic designer is execution focused. It's responsible for creating the visual content, right? These are the people who are going to execute the vision of the campaign, of the design, of whatever lands on their laps, right? It's mainly execution focus. So of course, it's the one that's hands-on the work. Is the one who sits down with Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, After Effects, or you name it, whatever software. Not to promote Adobe here, but is the one who will open the software and actually execute the campaign or the poster or whatever it may be, at a level, at a, let's say, technical level, right? It's detail oriented, of course. Usually the graphic designer will get the package or the direction from the art director. We're gonna get into that later on when we're talking about art direction, but they will get the vision, whether it's through references, through mock-ups, through early stages of the development of the campaign. It could be anything. However, the art director or the creative director wants to brief the graphic designer, and now this graphic designer will be the one who executes, and it has to be detail oriented in order to make sure that everything it's aligned and pleasing and follows the brand identity and everything. Usually the graphic designers are the ones who have the brand guidelines like next to them, right? An art director might know and might be familiar with the brand guidelines, and of course an art director should always have the brand guidelines, but the art director probably will have it in a folder in their computer, and the graphic designer will have it at least open on a second screen while they work. So detail oriented. They have to be detail oriented in order to execute the entire campaign. And the whole thing is done through technical skills. Like I mentioned, technically speaking, there are the ones who actually know the software, are proficient in typography, color theory, layout, and the manipulation of images if you have photography and that sort of stuff, color correcting, fixing stuff, and that sort of things. So that's a graphic designer. And then, they're project specific. Again, this is not to say how you should run your agency, your team, or depending on who you are, or how you should direct your graphic designers as an art director. But usually a graphic designer will be project specific, meaning you know, they will receive, let's say you're working a campaign, there's a campaign for Xbox, let's say. So they will be briefed on that campaign and they will work on that campaign. And once they're done with that campaign, with whatever amount of assets they need to design, they will move on to the next one, right? They cannot work. I mean, not that they can't work, but they should be project specific in a sense, one at a time, individual projects, or components of a larger campaign, like individual components of it. And then in terms of the creative process, they actually can contribute to ideas. This is something I've done before in my career with different teams, where I open up the room for ideation from anywhere, from anyone, let's say. So graphic designers can contribute ideas, of course, but they don't that's not necessarily their part of their role and responsibilities, right? Usually that's how I determine if they're ready to move on to the next step of being an art director, right? Is through their contributions ideating. Because, and here we go into our art director side of the video, is there's a leadership focus in art direction. That means ideating. So oversees the visual style and creative direction of projects. So conceptual work, what I'm saying, they ideate, involved in the conceptual phase. Art directors ideate. It's part of their responsibilities. Developing ideas and strategies for visual storytelling, right? That's kind of the biggest difference I'm gonna say is, if I were to say in one line, what's the difference between a graphic designer and an art director, is graphic designers execute, art directors ideate. So team management, an art director should be able to manage a team, whether it is a team of graphic designers or a team of more more junior art directors. I mean, art directors, whenever a designer jumps into art direction as a position, it should start that journey of learning how to manage teams. And then client interaction. In an agency, a graphic designer usually don't have interaction with the client. It will have interaction with the creative team, with the copywriter, with the creative director, and especially with the art director, but not necessarily with the client. They won't be presenting their work to the client. The art director is going to be the one who presents to the client. So the art directors have a broad vision. They oversee multiple projects or campaigns, ensuring visual harmony. Remember when we said about the graphic designer, where they're project specific focus, right? In this case, an art director will oversee several projects. When you have a graphic designer that's focused on one project at a time, whether it's, a media plan, let's say, or a very specific asset of the campaign, the art director actually oversees that graphic designers and others. So they oversee multiple, or they should oversee multiple campaigns at a time if possible. Again, this is something that it's about the capabilities, the roles and responsibilities of the art director. And the graphic designer is not necessarily meant for you to kind of, I'm not trying to tell you how to run your agency, your teams, or whatever. I'm just saying here how to see the difference between them, right? And then they have, the art director has creative authority. Of course, speaking of art, right, makes higher level creative decisions and influences the brand's visual direction. So in terms of art, the art side of any given campaign or brand, or creative unit or asset or whatever, they have the creative authority over that creative. So there's a very clear difference between them. And the thing is that why I'm making this video, what inspired me to make this video, is that usually I encounter, first with my students, I encounter that they don't know the difference between art direction and graphic designer. Usually when we're doing critiques of the work, I see how they start, talking about the design of the work, and not necessarily talk about the art direction, the idea, the ideation, the concept. They right away start, look, I like you place the font here. I like the font that you use. I like the color. So they go into a very graphic design mode, and not necessarily critique the concept, the idea of the piece that they're looking at and that they're critiquing, right? So criteria is one of the most important things for any creative, and as you go up the ladder of in positions, whether it's art or copy, criteria is the most important thing you need to develop. And as you go through, from as you move on from design to art direction, that's what you need to start cultivating. So what are the key differences? So the role focus, basically what I said a few minutes ago. Graphic designers execute, art directors ideate and lead. The responsibilities: graphic designers create visual elements, art directors oversee the entire creative process. So basically, graphic designers execute, art directors are there to oversee that execution throughout the creative process, right? And then the scope. Graphic designers focus on specific projects, or you want them to focus on specific projects, and the art directors handle broader campaign direction. They are going to be working on specific projects at a time, where the art director can have multiple designers working on different projects at a time and oversee all of them. Or several graphic designers working on the same campaign, let's say, each one working, let's say one is working motion graphics, another one's working out of home, and another one's working digital, let's say, where graphic designers are assigned per type of media, let's say in that case. The art director oversees everything, all of them, right? So that's how you want to organize your team, or at least understand how you organize that team, so then you can start, pulling and pushing in different directions. Like, let's say, like, know the rules before you break the rules, right? So I think that's it. The main idea, the main thing I want you to take out from this video is that main difference of role focus is graphic designers execute and art directors ideate and lead. If you know that, you can now see your agency in a different way. I mean, if you have the problem of not having that distinction, it's something very important, not only because of the development of the team. So you have a clear path to how to develop your team, and how to, the roadmap that each employee in your team should have and should, aim towards to. But it also about costs, right? You don't want your art directors, your let's say even ACDs, or even creative directors from the art side doing graphic design work, because I mean, of course, the costs are way higher. So knowing that differentiation, it's something key and important for the business overall. So yeah, there you have it. I'm gonna leave it at that. I think it's a very simple concept. It's a very simple idea, but usually I see how it's not well executed, and I also see how my students don't really know that difference, don't really express or show that they understand that difference, and I think it's very important for them. So that's why I made this video, and I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed and learned something about it. And of course, if you liked it, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and share with a friend. I'm gonna start doing more videos like this. I know I've been off for a bit now. I was trying to find the identity of this channel, but I think I have it, which is going to be mainly on Tainment Academy. I'm gonna be basically doing some tips and training videos from now on. So I hope you like them. I hope you enjoy them. I hope you learn something, and I hope you subscribe and hit the like button. And if you didn't like it, you can hit the thumbs down too. Also, very important, comment below. What's your point of view from this? Do you agree with me? Do you don't agree with me? Do you have a different perspective that you want to provide or collaborate with here? Go to the comment section below and let's start the conversation. This is all about sharing our ideas to help each other be better creatives. Okay, so thank you so much.